is very common, and one thing that probably doesn't bother people across in the West is the insurance parameters. If anybody falls sick in the family, okay, you know that there is an insurance, so the financial strain is not there. The tension is more, okay, how can the family member recover and be back amongst us? Is that really true in India? That's certainly some area that he brought about, and I thought it's a very, very relevant point. I mean, can we really broad base insurance much more than it is today? It's been happening, but maybe the pace needs to be increased substantially. He's got a very valid point over there. And I think the final point there was price control is already self-regulated. So I think a lot of important thought processes came through over there, which would be a food for thought and important take-homes for a lot of us over here as we go back home this afternoon or this evening from this leadership summit. We now move on to our next speaker for the keynote address for the day. And I think Dr. Ajit Dangi is so well known that he probably really needs no introduction to any pharmaceutical forum, maybe across all industries. Currently, Dr. Ajit Dangi is President and CEO of Danson Consulting, a consulting firm specializing in pharmaceuticals, life sciences, and healthcare. He is also chairman of the board of MSD, and Dr. Dangi has served as Director General of OPPI for several years and has been also playing a key role in bringing several pharmaceutical issues to the fore, and particularly on the IPR front. He is former President and Executive Director of Johnson & Johnson, where he served for almost 20 years in different capacities. Finally, I'm also told this is something that has added to me, though I know Dr. Dangi so well. Dr. Dangi also worked with Unilever Group in UK for 5 years before returning back to India. So ladies and gentlemen, bring your hands together and welcome Dr. Ajit Dangi for his keynote address on India, an emerging pharmaceutical powerhouse. Dr. Dangi, please.
I want it here. Sorry, there is a little glitch. I wanted the presentation here, which is not there. Just a few minutes. Okay, thank you, Mr. Krishna Kumar, for that kind introduction. I'm sorry about this delay. Well, friends, let me once again wish you all a very good morning and welcome to this presentation on India, an emerging pharmaceutical powerhouse. As our country enters the so-called knowledge century, radical changes are taking place in the business environment. Today, globalization, privatization, and liberalization has become a new mantra, not only for growth, but also for survival. We have now, there is no industry today which has escaped the wave of globalization. No business has escaped the wave of globalization. And pharmaceutical industry is no exception. However, unlike many other industries, the pharmaceutical industry has taken globalization, the wave of globalization, very effectively and taken it as an opportunity and not as a threat. With almost $12 billion in domestic sales and another $11 billion in exports in the year 2010, both growing at double digit, it has acquired its place in the sun. But more than these numbers, if you talk to any of these international NGOs like Oxfam or Red Cross or Medicines Sans Frontiers, which won the Nobel Peace Prize, you will realize that our industry has made an incredible contribution in saving the lives of millions of patients, particularly in third world countries, suffering from tuberculosis, malaria, HIV/AIDS, which WHO calls the weapons of mass destruction. Now, when we talk about this particular contribution, and when you compare ourselves, as Dr. Kanodia said, with the global sales, before we start patting ourselves on the back about what the industry has achieved, we must realize that our contribution to the global sales is just around 2%. So how do we accelerate this growth as a sustainable growth? And that is going to be the focal point of my presentation. Now, before I get into the pharmaceutical industry, let me just give you some selective economic indicators which will put you in the proper context as an industry. If you see the 2010-11 economic indicators, our GDP growth, which was going around 8.5%, has now come down to 7.5%, and mostly will end the year by 7% growth. Our GDP is about $1.4 trillion, one of the 14 or 15 trillion dollar economies in the world. What is heartening is our composition is 80% domestic and 20% exports. So we are not overtly dependent on exports like many other industries, like IT industry is. One of the challenges the government has is to contain the inflation, which is hovering around 8–9%. The fiscal deficit, again, is another issue for worry. Our foreign exchange reserves are fairly comfortable, and the saving rate as a percentage of GDP is 32%, which is one of the highest in the world. Last week, there was a report that Indian household holds something like $950 billion worth of gold in our families, which is almost half of our GDP. And the BSE, that is Bombay Stock Exchange, which is the bellwether for all the companies' growth, has crossed $1 trillion. Another important thing is, there was time about 10 years ago that agriculture played a very important role in our economy. This is no longer so. Almost 59% to 60% of our composition of the GDP is coming from services like IT-enabled services, hospitality, etc. Industry is only 26%, and agriculture has dropped down to 15%. Now, there was a PricewaterhouseCoopers report on global economy in 2010, which said that India is expected to become the third largest economy in the world by 2020. Surprisingly, China will be number 1, US will be number 2, and India will be number 3. Now, this is some of the health infrastructure, and you know all these figures. But if you see, although some of these figures are very impressive, like 600,000 doctors and 800,000 nurses, etc., or maybe 17,000 hospitals, when you work it out per capita basis, we have something like half a doctor per 1,000 of population. Similarly, about 0.8 nurses for 1,000 of population. And our government healthcare spend is just around 1% of the GDP. And that is where the crux lies. So if you see the healthcare spend of various countries, as per the McKinsey report, if you see the light India, it shows 37, the light blue color, which is PPP, that is purchasing power parity, which is less than countries like Sri Lanka and Thailand and India in Pakistan. And therefore, the GDP spend per capita is one of the lowest in the world in healthcare. Now, impact of healthcare, health insurance. Today, 80% of us pay from our own pocket for the medicines. And unless we expand the health insurance, this situation is likely to remain like that. And that is where the FDI in health insurance or insurance comes into picture, where there's a strong resistance from the various opposition party or also the government allies. Now, if you see, before we go into Indian pharmaceutical industry, let us have a look at the global pharmaceutical scenario. These are some of the figures from IMS Retail. Global sales at US dollars 837 billion, which is growth of 5% in the year 2010. USA, Europe, and Japan, they contribute 87% of the sales. USA alone is 244 billion, which is around 40% of the total global sales. The number one company, Pfizer, with a sales of 50 billion US dollars. And according to IMS, the pharmerging market, what is a new word they are coined, that is Brazil, Russia, India, China, Korea, Mexico, and Turkey, is $110 billion, growing at about 14 to 15%. Number of blockbusters in the world, about 106. Blockbusters, as they define, are the drugs with a sales of $1 billion globally. And total R&D spend of top 100 companies is $107 billion. Number one drug, as Dr. Kanodia mentioned, is Lipitor with $12 billion sale. But as you know, last week, the US FDA approved the ANDA, abbreviated new drug application for Ranbaxy, and Ranbaxy will be the first company to come out with a generic atorvastatin. IMS health projections, they say that IMS Health predicts that emerging markets will expand by US dollars 90 billion between 2009 and 2013, contributing something like 48% of annual pharmaceutical marketing growth. So this emerging market is going to be a significant focus for many MNCs. Let us come down to our Indian pharmaceutical highlights. The domestic sales, as you know, we closed the year 2010 with 12 billion US dollars with a growth of 16.2%. The last week's IMS report shows that this year also we are likely to grow by 14 to 15%. Our exports are about 11 billion US dollars with a growth of 25% plus. And if you grow with that kind of rate, in few years' time, our exports will be higher than our domestic sales. Our number one company is Abbott, which is a combination of now Piramal Healthcare and also Abbott and Solvay, but it has only 7% market share, and which shows the fragmentation of the entire industry. Number one drug is Augmentin, which is sale of about 54 million drug at GSK sale of $54 million as against $12 billion of Lipitor. Now, this ranking of number one, number two keeps on changing. Again, last week IMS report shows that a cough syrup, Fensidil, has become number one. So between Augmentin, Fensidil, overall,